Hello friends, welcome to the Block Thrasher Daily Morning Crypto Update, where we are shattering the complexities of crypto with news, commentary, analysis, and education. My name is Justin Cummins. It is Wednesday, March 24th, 6:58 a.m., where I am in the incredibly beautiful state of Montana. I am sitting on top of a mountain looking at the city of Bozeman. Absolutely beautiful. There's snow on the ground, some clouds in the sky. The sun is just beginning to peek up over the horizon, over the mountains to the east. It's a gorgeous place. Everyone should visit sometime, for sure. Just having a great time as I continue to make my way across the western part of the United States, here in Bozeman for a couple days, and then heading to Washington. Well, we've got a lot to talk about today. I think it's going to be a good show. We're going to talk about this disgusting person. Almost never. If you know me or you listen for very long, you know that my mode of operation is kindness. But this guy, Augustin Carstens, of the Bank of International Settlements, just one of the primary advocates and defenders of the global banking monetary cabal, speaking out again. Every now and then, every couple of months, he breaks into the news and has something to say about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Something that is generally ridiculous, and we're gonna look at a story about that today. But he's a Luddite. He's a Luddite. It's more than being a Luddite. It obviously it goes to defending the bastion of power that is the Bank of International Settlements and the central banking system. You know, people talk a lot about, and we will as well talk about the Federal Reserve, because it is the most powerful central bank on the planet, because the dollar is the reserve currency of the world. However, the Bank of International Settlements has a role that it plays which is significant. If there is a financial institution that seconds the Federal Reserve, it would probably be the Bank of International Settlements. Anyway, we'll get into the Bank of International Settlements a little bit, but I spoke of him as a Luddite. What is a Luddite? This is our word of the day. A Luddite. A Luddite. Its primary meaning is a member of any of various bands of workers in England organized to destroy manufacturing machinery under the belief that its use diminished employment. So the Luddites were these groups of people that, during the Industrial Revolution, that feared that they were going to lose their jobs to machinery and to manufacturing. So to the technological advancements of that day. So they'd go around and they'd destroy the machines in the factories. Well, now it's taken on a new meaning in our time, and someone who is opposed or resistant to new technologies or technological change. And obviously, cryptocurrency is both a technological change and a monetary change in many ways. And so the Luddite term is pretty fitting. It's spelled Luddite. Add Luddite to your repertoire of vocabulary. It's a good one. All right, let's look at what's happening within the cryptocurrency market today. Well, the market is actually up 6.03% at the moment. Total market cap is $1.752 trillion. BTC is seeing a little bit of a pump. Why is this happening? Well, obviously, it's difficult to predict markets. However, there is some news today, some news that could be affecting the Bitcoin price, and it has to do with our good friend Elon Musk once again. Yesterday I said that the number one marketer for cryptocurrency was Joe Biden, sort of tongue-in-cheek, because Joe Biden and the federal government and the Federal Reserve, because they just keep creating an inflationary environment with more stimulus, with the news of the $3 trillion package now. But I've got to say, currently, I think the number two marketer is Elon Musk. The guy's just in the news every single day. Obviously, is wealthiest man in the world, or I think he's still number one. I don't know. Depends on what's happening with Tesla stock today. Anyway, today making an announcement, or yesterday, I guess, making an announcement that you can now buy Tesla automobiles with Bitcoin. Obviously, one of the big arguments people have often said is, well, you can't really do anything with Bitcoin. I can't buy anything with Bitcoin. Obviously, that's not true. You can use Bitcoin to buy things, many things, all over the place. However, it isn't always the easiest thing to do. But Tesla's making it easy, and here's the thing that is probably even a little bit more significant than the fact that they're accepting Bitcoin, is that Musk said that the Bitcoin that they receive as payment for vehicles, they're not going to use a payment processor. They're not going to convert it to US dollars or to cash. They're going to just keep that Bitcoin and add it to their balance sheet. This is brilliant. This is brilliant on the part of Elon Musk, because what he's doing here is he is using Bitcoin to shore up the Tesla company, and to protect it, he's using it as a safe haven asset to protect Tesla against the coming inflation, against the coming stock market crash that might ensue, or any other negative actions that might be taken by the Federal Reserve, such as raising of interest rates, etc. It's brilliant. Same thing is similar to what Michael Saylor's doing of MicroStrategy with his company. Maybe we'll see others follow suit, and if we do that, will be a very good thing for the cryptocurrency space. Anyway, moving on back to the market. Bitcoin up 4.47%, $57,000, potentially on the news of Tesla. Ethereum also up 2.24% to $1,736. Binance Coin still at number 3, up 3.58%, currently $267.11. Cardano $1.16, up 1.65%. Polkadot $35.99, up 2.27%. XRP 56 cents, down 1.6%. Uniswap taking a little bit of a hit. Uniswap, there's some news about Uniswap. They've released their proposals, a proposal for version 3.0 of Uniswap, and there's been a little bit of confusion out there because some of the news has been reporting a 4,000x increase, and people are thinking like, well, this has something to do with ETH 2.0 and the reduction of the fees, and it's not. It's just they're releasing a new liquidity protocol, and so it is going to increase the amount of liquidity on the Uniswap DEX, purportedly. Anyway, Theta continuing to just rear its monster head in the last few days, as it's pushed Litecoin down to number 10 in market cap. Theta is now 1337, and it's hit a high of 1440 something. It's been up in the $14 range as well, up 14.47% in the last 24 hours, up 93% on the week. Theta continues to do really, really well. Litecoin up 5.6%, $196.79. Chainlink has been pushed down to number 11. It is up 1.8%, $27.75. Crypto.com coin, CRO, doing well, up close to 15% almost, 23 cents. Filecoin, we're going to talk about Filecoin a little bit today in a discussion about decentralized cloud services and how they might disrupt the massively huge market, which is AWS with Amazon Web Services, Azure with Microsoft, even things like Dropbox and Google's cloud storage services. Could be some good things happening in the cryptocurrency space in that regard. So Filecoin up 21.85%, $91 a coin. All right, moving on. Musk revealed, we already talked about this. Bitcoin, Tesla. Yeah, we already covered all that. Next story. One of the objections that people will make about cryptocurrencies is that they have no real world use case. And so we're going to talk about something that addresses that. An example, and there's a number of them, of one issue, of one instance in which there is a very clear use case. It's a good use case. We're going to talk about two today. One is file storage, and then another is the decentralization of internet services. We've seen recently issues arise where a platform we saw with Parler, as an example, was shut down and unable to, at least purportedly restart their social network because they were unable to get a replacement for the Amazon Web Services, which was running their system. Now, one of the weaknesses, one of the potential dangers, let's just say, for crypto and for blockchain is the centralization of the internet itself, of the protocol. And according to Forbes, and this author that wrote about this project that we're going to discuss, the modern internet has three major shortcomings. While we keep finding new ways to use the internet, the underlying design of how people and devices find each other across the web has not changed in decades. So since the beginning of the original development of the internet protocol, which, in your browser, you'll see the HTTP ://www. Right? The TCP IP protocol, the HTTP protocol that the internet operates on really hasn't changed. The internet is overdue for an upgrade, and three areas of deficiency stand out. Number one is centralization. Today's internet access and routing is under the control of governments and service providers, such as Amazon Web Services and Cloudflare. Cloudflare, if you don't know, is a CDN, a content delivery network that runs most of the internet, the websites. So websites, in order to increase speed, increase the loading speed and delivery of their website to you, the user, they use Cloudflare because Cloudflare has servers that operate all around the world. And so the way it works is that when you call up a website like Facebook, let's say, or something like that, it serves that to you from the closest data center to you. And it creates redundancy as well, because Cloudflare has copies of that website in their data centers all around the world, right? So this runs the internet. Amazon Web Services, Cloudflare, these massively huge corporate entities, centralized entities, and so this gives them power. Moving on, as the world and its applications become incredibly decentralized, an obvious incompatibility both technologically and philosophically arises. For example, the vast majority of blockchains today, which tout decentralization as their ultimate goal, rely on centralized server farms, which can be taken down through a centralized point of failure, such as happened in a recent fire in a 5-story data center in Strasbourg. So it can be an accidental thing because of a fire, a flood, a natural disaster, power grid going down, etc. Or it also brings risk to the decentralized blockchains because it can also be shut down intentionally by the centralized entities that run these systems. So that's the first issue with the internet that needs to be addressed, is the centralization issue. The second is performance. As traffic on today's internet increases, users are experiencing issues with latency, which is speed, jitter, which is consistency, and uptime, which is reliability. Reducing cost entails keeping customer data on net for as long as possible before sending it off to the cheapest connection away from the network. This is to understand this. It's sort of like an airport shuttle service. The airport shuttle service costs a lot less than hiring a private limousine, but that's because it will invariably stop numerous times before dropping you off, and so you have to wait. This not only increases the time the trip takes, which would be latency, but also how much room for error you have to leave to make your flight, because the trip can take anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour, right? Which would be jitter. You don't know. There's uncertainty and unreliability in how long your trip might take. Maybe there's some really slow moving people getting on and off the shuttle bus. So that's the second issue. So we've got the centralization, we've got the speed, and then we've got security is the third issue. For hackers, the internet can provide untraceable access to data and applications from remote locations. Once an attacker gains even the slightest foothold in an individual or a corporate network, they can use it as a springboard to gain control of the entire network. With many of us carrying cryptocurrency and other personal information, financial information, health data on our phones, on our computers, data privacy is becoming a massively huge and primary concern. And even VPN providers can't always help protect us. So here, this is the problem. The problem is centralization, performance, and security. And this is how the current internet infrastructure works, and this is the problems of the current internet infrastructure. So, what is the solution? A new connectivity layer to optimize the modern network. It is essentially mesh networks, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. There's a couple of different blockchain-driven, cryptocurrency-driven mesh network type of systems out there which provide an answer, a potential answer, because in order for these things to actually work, they're going to have to scale, and that's one of the issues. But let's look at the first, Syntropy. Syntropy, co-founded by Jonas Simonavicius and Domas Povlauskas, combines the power of the next generation of technologies, such as end-to-end encryption, which is great. We want that. Segment routing and blockchain to create a blockchain-enabled upgrade for the modern internet. Now, Sean Hackle, former SVP at Verizon and current VP at Microsoft, said this about Syntropy and Domas, the co-founder. He said, Domas has a very clear vision of how the internet is overdue for an upgrade. Syntropy is unique because it is architected around a highly distributed model that has been elegantly linked across a number of leading-edge technologies. Today's alternatives, other solutions for these problems, have too many elements glued together at too high of a price. Centropy's solution is a much simpler way to integrate and package a network ready for users and developers. Centropy's value proposition is threefold. All right, moving on to explain it further. Decentralization, optimization, and security. All of those three issues that we talked about as being problematic with current internet infrastructure. Centropy decentralizes, what it does is it decentralizes control of the network by empowering end users, whether they are businesses or individuals, to choose the routes their information takes. These users can control how their data is sent across the internet rather than relying on ISPs, cloud providers, and other service providers. This leads to optimized performance. Real-time data on the performance of different service providers and other network resources enables users to automatically select routes that provide the right mix of reliability, stability, and consistency for their needs. Now, I've talked often about crypto impacting the world-changing impacts, and there's just a bunch of stuff racing around in my head right now that I kind of want to go off on rabbit trails on how it's going to do that. But going to stay focused here on this particular instance, and we're going to talk about and describe how that happens. There are places around the world where very few percentage of the population has access to high-speed internet. They have phones, and in some places and at points in time, they have connectivity to the internet, but then sometimes it drops out when they have to travel, etc. And this mesh network solution actually can provide a way for them to have access, high-speed internet network access, without having to be connected to the phone carrier, the service provider, because it happens peer-to-peer amongst the devices. The model is particularly applicable in emerging markets where the scarcity of available paths means that a simple email sent from one town to a neighboring town may have to travel to the other side of the world before making it to the desired destination. Centropy solves this problem by finding more optimized routes, decreasing the time needed to transfer data, and enhances security by enabling users to encrypt every single connection end-to-end using blockchain. It's a very complicated system, this Centropy system, the routing aspect of it, but to simplify it, it's just cutting out the super long trip that email, for instance, or the other bit of data that has to be sent has to take, and going a more direct route, and being able to, as an application developer, say you are a developer who's created an email client, can control the route that is taken and improve the latency issue that we were talking about and the jitter issue and all those other things, right? So it's sort of like jumping on into the limousine to make that trip rather than jumping on the shuttle bus. So how does Centropy work? Centropy is powered by its own utility token. So if you want to look up the token, it's NOIA. NOIA. It used to be called, the project used to be called NOIA, but it's changed its name to Centropy, which I think is a good move. It performs three major functions. Number one is payments. The Centropy utility token is used to pay for the use of the blockchain that stores data and validates transactions. The more NOIA you have, the more NOIA you spend, the more optimized your connection becomes. Security, the NOI token is used to increase security through a nominated proof of stake consensus mechanism. So it's a proof of stake token. And that's the only downside I see currently with Centropy is that it's running on the Ethereum blockchain, and that's going to be a hindrance because of the transaction fees currently. If that could solve with a 2.0, fine. If they move to another chain, great. Incentives. NOIA enables a reward scheme for global users to connect and develop on Centropy. According to the founders, Centropy developers are building a range of applications on the network, with gaming applications taking the lead. In the future, Centropy hopes to be the upgraded connectivity layer for applications that need to seamlessly collect thousands of locations on the fly. This can include gig economy apps such as Uber, as well as networks powering Internet of Things devices such as autonomous cars. Tony Greenberg, board member and advisor of Syntropy, says, "We believe that Syntropy can offer a faster and cheaper internet solution while significantly lowering the carbon footprint. Ethereum is gas for transactions as Syntropy is gas for data. And to me, data is the highest business in the world." All right. Syntropy. Let's look at the coin market cap data for Syntropy. It is currently 48 cents, up 6.09%. Circulating supply, 343 million in OIA. Total max supply is going to be 1 trillion. If you'd like to look it up, it's syntropynet.com. Looking at the chart, we can see Syntropy was hovering very, 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 very cheap, 0.003 cents most of last year. Started to rise in July of 2020, up and down a bit, sideways, and with the rest of this bull market has sort of just taken off. Now currently 48 cents. What are some of Syntropy's competitors? There's also Smart Mesh, which is hoping to open the world again in some of these places in the world where they have insufficient internet connectivity. So the idea behind it is sort of this. It's a peer-to-peer internet protocol. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 people in some region with the Smart Mesh app or whatever platform it is installed on their phone, it creates they connect to each other. So those devices, whether it be laptops or desktops or phones that are running the software, they create a mesh network where they connect to each other. And they can send data. They can serve up websites, essentially, and data to each other on that local mesh network. But then someone, who has internet connectivity to the traditional internet can share that connectivity with the rest of the mesh network. So you can see how that could work, where that maybe 100 miles away from the individual who has connectivity to the global internet, the traditional internet, but he's sending that to someone who's, a mile away or less, or hundreds of feet away, and then that's connected to the mesh network, and then that goes to another person who's another 100 feet away on their phone, and another. Everybody past that first person, though, moving in the direction further out, doesn't have connectivity to their cell phone service provider or internet connectivity, but they're able to receive it as it gets sent. That they're not able to connect to the satellite service, which their phone service provider is giving, etc., but it's able to be sent through the mesh network that is operating on the cell phones, for instance, potentially hundreds of miles away, right? So a beautiful thing. And in theory, the idea is that it may even be possible eventually to just operate a mesh peer-to-peer network with nodes that serve up websites, and this kind of coincides with the Filecoin and the other cloud-based services that we're going to talk about, storage today. With the two coming together, it might be possible to create an internet that is not reliant upon the traditional system and networks. Smart Mesh is up 5.32%, currently 0.009. It has not been doing very well at all. So it's just being mentioned as another example of a project that's attempting to do this thing. Amber is another one. Get paid to share your internet connection with the world is what Amber is all about. Amber brings the internet to new places using blockchain and wireless mesh technology. Amber is a blockchain-based wireless mesh network that buys and sells internet bandwidth autonomously. Using the AMR cryptocurrency, Amber's network can bring reliable internet access to places that do not have it without relying on a legacy internet service providers. And so with these systems, you can typically run a node and share your internet access and earn some crypto in the process. So that might be something to look at. All right, moving on. We've covered Elon Musk and Tesla. We've covered Syntropy and the mesh networks, which is something that sort of in the same way I've talked about Theta in the hopes that Theta, the Theta platform, theta.tv, will succeed. It's always, this is one of those things with crypto that is real world type of thing where we as community, we as users, we can potentially together create and provide an internet protocol where we all mutually benefit from it as we provide hosting service and get paid for that, and people pay to access those services. And with Theta, it's video services, right? It's video content creation and creators and users, and so that's a great thing. And there's going to be the same thing with lending eventually. And well, we're seeing that with DeFi. That's the big picture, beautiful, world-changing thing that instead of some guy in, Uganda having to go try to get a loan from a bank to start up a business which he has that might be very profitable, I or you or someone else might be able to give him a micro loan, or as a community come together and just give small amounts, sort of like a GoFundMe type of thing, but through cryptocurrency and in such a way that it can all be transparent and tracked, and or you and you could be ensured of getting paid back as he uses a platform to engage in that business and to receive payments, and then a portion of those payments automatically gets sent to you. This type of thing can be done through a smart contract. I mean, I'm just touching on the tip of the iceberg here with what can be done with cryptocurrency. So it's way beyond, like, so many people, the Bitcoin maximalists especially, I think, it's way beyond making some fast cash in a trade with crypto, or investing in something and seeing insane gains. That's great. That's awesome. I mean, everybody wants to make money. We want to make money. Let's go make some money. But catching the vision, I mean, that is when we want to see mass adoption, when people start to really understand and recognize the potential that is here to open up doors of freedom, to open up doors to give people the opportunity to pursue their own life, liberty, happiness, their dreams, to go after things that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to do because of the red tape and the bottleneck and just the obsolescence of the legacy systems, which is the banking system and the internet and the corporations that have to be dealt with and competed against, etc. Anyway, that is a little bit of a rabbit trail. I got off. Still in the same vein, there's some news with Coinbase. Okay, Coinbase is listing 3 new altcoins: Anchor, Curved Out, and Storg. We're going to talk about Storg because it fits with what we've been discussing today. What is Storg? If you're not familiar, Storg is a decentralized cloud storage system. So think of Dropbox. Think of Amazon Web Services. Think of all of the cloud. Edge. What's the Azure Microsoft system? With Storg, you can host a node, which is essentially providing disk storage space. We pay node operators for their unused storage and bandwidth, making decentralized storage possible for tardigrade.io customers. Put your extra space to use and start earning today. So Storg is trying to target the storage data for applications, right? And they do that through this tardigrade.io website and service. You can upgrade your storage later to the world's first S3 compatible decentralized cloud storage solution. Tardigrade is 100% secure, more affordable, and more reliable. So this is an AWS alternative for applications, right? But you, as a user, if you have a terabyte hard drive just sitting around and a high-speed internet connection, can become a host, fire that thing up, and start earning storage tokens today. And Storg has just been listed on Coinbase. Put your extra disk space to work. Node operators get paid for their extra disk space, sort of like ride sharing for the cloud. Yeah, kind of like Uber, but for the cloud. Good analogy. DoorDash, Grubhub, whatever. We pay you for unused disk space to power the storage network and securely store encrypted data from tardigrade. So the way that this works, it's really cool, actually. It's better, I think, than some of the legacy cloud storage systems. Because what happens is the person that has the data, that needs the storage, they have their file, which is the data. They upload it through the storage system. It gets chopped up into a bunch of tiny little pieces, little packets, which are encrypted. And then that gets sent out, distributed out to all the node operators for storage all around the world, right? And then when someone else needs to retrieve that data, a user needs to retrieve that data, it gets delivered from the closest nearby node operators. And those packets, as little packets, right? So, and it might be able to pull from 10 or 20 or 30 or however, whatever the number is of different nodes, the packets. Maybe if you've ever watched what happens with peer-to-peer file transfer system, when you're transferring down, you'll see that the different packets come in at different rates. Sometimes the end of a file comes in and then, or a portion of the end of a file comes in before the beginning and the middle and and then it all gets put back together, right? It gets glued back together. And you have the whole file. And then it gets unencrypted. So incredibly secure, fast. It's a beautiful thing. Node operators can essentially be the cloud. Node operators host data from users all over the world, enabling a truly private, totally secure, and completely decentralized cloud solution. You can use existing hardware. You don't need anything special. Operating a node doesn't require any extra hardware or power-hungry CPUs. All you need is a solid internet connection and a hard drive and some hard drive space. So again, cloud storage services is a massively huge and profitable business for companies like Amazon and Google and Microsoft. Disrupting that and distributing those profits out to the users of the storage system. That's an incredible thing, right? It's incredible from the standpoint of the empowerment of the community that uses the system, but it's also so much better because it's private, it's secure, and it's decentralized. I love it. So who are the competitors? We've got Storg. Storg is, well, actually, first let's just look at some of the details of Storg. It's currently up 72.93%. Let's look at the chart. This price increase happening yesterday, 98 cents. March 22nd. No, not yesterday. Day before yesterday. Today, Boom. $1.66. It's almost doubled in price. So I would guess that this is coming on the news of the Coinbase announcement. Storg is an Ethereum token at the moment, so it's going to face those similar issues. It's been around a long time. I remember playing around with Storg way back in 2017. It's not a new project. Max supply not listed. Total supply currently 424,000. So it could be an inflationary token. These types of things, some of these, THETA, Storg, Filecoin. Oh, we're going to talk about the competitors. Filecoin being another competitor, and Siacoin, probably the three most notable. These, some of these, I like to support just on an ideological basis, regardless of whether or not they're a good investment, because I want to see some of these protocols succeed. Because I believe in the ideas behind them. And so sometimes it's more than just, like I was mentioning earlier, making money or making an investment or whatever. Filecoin is also on Coinbase, just a side note, and similar platform. Use Filecoin to store and retrieve data, a powerful and dynamic distributed cloud storage network for your data. You can check out Filecoin if you like, filecoin.io. Filecoin is currently $90.82. It does have a max supply, which is 2 billion. Total supply right now is only 59 million, up 15% in the last 24 hours. Looking at the chart, it has gone from a price of 22 back in January 21 to 89 currently today. Moving with the rest of the market. Check out Filecoin at filecoin.io. And the last of the cloud service-based blockchain crypto-based services is SIA, SIA.tech, if you want to pull up that website and take a look. Now, SIA is, of the three, the previous two, Filecoin and Storg, seem to be, and I've just kind of taken, some of these, I messed with Storg and SIA a long time ago and dove in a little bit deeper. But this is just kind of, I'm just giving you guys a cursory kind of overview look, just a quick glance, not digging real deep. But Storg and Filecoin look to be providing data cloud services for applications, and so going more after the commercial market. SIA doing that as well, but also a little bit more of, going after the Google Drive and Dropbox type of market, right? They have a graphical user interface which is easy to use, and then there are other applications that people have developed that work with the SIA network. So Filebase is one, an S3 compatible object storage service that uses SIA on the back end. So that's like the Amazon type of thing that we're talking about for business. And then Storewise, let's see, well, they have what file sharing it uses. Desktop apps, here it is. So they have the cloud storage apps for app development, then they've got the desktop apps. So there's Decentralizer, which is a companion app that provides renters with more granular controls. Here we go. Repertory, Fuse-compatible app that allows users to mount SIA as a drive on their desktops, similar to Google Drive. So that's what I was talking about there. And here's SIA Sync, lightweight app that monitors a folder on your desktop and syncs it to its contents to the SIA network, similar to Dropbox. And there's some others out there. So what's happening is other developers have come along and created complementary apps that provide the functionality that work with SIA to work just like Dropbox or Google Drive. Why would you want to use this? Well, there's a number of reasons. First of all, it's all crypto-based. It's all decentralized. But also it's more private. And so instead of, when you're talking with Google Drive or or Dropbox, there's a number of issues that arise. You don't know that your data is private. You don't know what level of, now, I mean, most, we're pretty trusting, I think. We have a fairly high level of confidence that if I've got files up on Google Drive or Dropbox, that they're going to be there, that they've got enough redundancy and infrastructure, etc., that's needed. But with these systems, you can go and you can look and you can see how many nodes are operating on the Sia network or the Filecoin network or on the Storg network, and you know that data is stored there in an encrypted, very private, very safe way, distributed globally out around the world, and you can access that when you need to. And so there's a number of benefits to why you might want to do this. In addition to, it's cheaper, and you can provide some income for someone that's partaking, that's part of the network, rather than the Amazon and Googles of the world. So anyway, enough on that. Siacoin is up 9.12% today, currently 0.022 cents. Total supply is 47 billion. No max supply listed. You can take a look at it if you want. It did see a nice, massive pump back in 2017 at the high. Nowhere even close to the high that it reached, its all-time high back then, currently. So again, just to summarize this whole discussion on these things, would love to see any one of these just become widely adopted and hugely successful, because it would be a really good thing. All right, moving on to the story of the day on the Bank of International Settlements. The head of the Bank of International Settlements, Augustin Carstens, says cryptos need more regulation. Excuse me for a second. Man, I don't have my coffee this morning. This is a sad thing. Augustin Carstens has called for cryptocurrencies to be subject to more regulations, while arguing that virtual currencies have not made a significant dent in global finance. No, Bitcoin is at $1 trillion, is just what, the 5th or 6th largest currency in the world now? Yeah. It's getting pretty big. Yeah. Augustin Carstens, general manager of the Bank for International Settlements, has called for even more crypto regulations, stating that virtual currencies are a tool for circumventing financial laws, aka avoiding our draconian rules, financial laws. I mean, when we're talking, this is not just talking about taxes, like in the U.S. We're just talking about financial laws can involve all kinds of things like capital controls, and in other countries around the world, some of the other central banks have much more draconian and prohibitive laws than here in the U.S., which is, relatively free. In an interview with CNBC on Wednesday, the Bank of International Settlements General Manager, the BIS General Manager, identified money laundering and terrorism as he identified money laundering and terrorism financing as areas that require more robust cryptocurrency regulations. Yeah, because no one's ever used fiat currencies for money laundering or for terrorism. That doesn't happen. It's ridiculous. Obviously, far more. Anyway, Carstens' comments, a common refrain among crypto critics, come despite the preponderance of established facts. Oh, this is a Cointelegraph article, by the way. Come despite the preponderance of established facts indicating that crypto criminality occupies a minute portion of global cryptocurrency commerce. According to Carstens, cryptocurrencies have a notoriety for being instruments of criminal activities due to the pseudonymous nature of virtual currency transactions. All false. However, blockchain intelligence firms continue to work with regulators and law enforcement agencies to provide robust crypto forensic capabilities. Indeed, the traceable nature of Bitcoin transactions enabled U.S. law enforcement to locate and shut down a global child pornography ring back in October 2019. And you know what? The solution to money laundering is not giving the government the ability to track every single financial transaction. We've never gone down that path. That argument would ultimately lead to what? Ending physical currency. Because physical currency isn't traceable. No one knows what happens to that physical paper money once it's out in circulation, or what it's used to buy, or how it's laundered. The role of regulatory agencies and law enforcement anyway, we think about this. In the United States, in our founding, in our legal system and structure, we've always valued freedom and the ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness and liberty. In balance, there have always been rights either recognized as inalienable or given to U.S. citizens to protect against things like unreasonable search and seizure, right? It's enumerated in the Constitution. Our papers, which means even our financial transactions, were supposed to remain private. Law enforcement has numerous restrictions against what they're able to do. They can't wiretap and listen. They're not supposed to listen to a conversation without your knowledge, without a warrant from a judge. They're not supposed to search your vehicle or come into your house and search your house without going through proper legal channels with a warrant from a judge. There's a whole list. I mean, that we could continue to go down the road of restraints that are placed upon law enforcement in what they can and cannot do. Now, if the end goal was simply to catch every criminal, then removing all freedoms, all privacy, would accomplish it, would be the best route. Let's just have all emails read, all text messages read. We'll use AI, we'll use algorithms, we'll comb through it all, and who knows? I mean, obviously more of that's being done than we ever thought, as was revealed by Snowden. But shoot, I mean, let's just give access to every last little bit of, there's a balance that comes in. There has to be a balance that comes in here. Obviously, we don't want to make it impossible for law enforcement to do their jobs, and we don't want to make it such that criminal behavior can't be stopped, obviously. But this idea that every transaction, every financial transaction needs to be traceable to stop money laundering is new. This was never that idea was the idea that in order to stop money laundering, every person, every citizen should have to submit every last detail of every transaction of what they bought and sold and where and when and etc. That's a new thing. That's not the way it's been. It's never been that way. I mean, there wasn't even the technological capability decades ago to try to even accomplish that sort of thing. And you know what? They found a way, right? I mean, there's things that law enforcement can do. That's the job. To find the criminal. To find the criminals. Typically, the money laundering happens because of the illegal activity that precedes it. They're selling drugs or some other kind of contraband or something like that. So you infiltrate those operations with good old style detective work. You know, you go out and anyway. I digress. Moving back to the story, darknet narcotics vendors who adopt crypto payments are routinely apprehended and put on trial in many countries around the world. Apart from espousing well-worn anti-crypto sound bites, the Bank of International Settlements general manager argued that cryptocurrencies are not a threat to the global financial establishment. All right, good. Hopefully they won't try to do anything to quell them then. Meanwhile, back in December 2019, Carstens expressed fears that private cryptos could disintermediate central banks and the global financial architecture. Oh no, we might be cut out. Carstens added that he did not see the path forward for global crypto dominance, adding that virtual currencies are yet to make any significant progress in terms of being used as money. Well, you can buy Tesla. The Bank of International Settlements executive also touched on stablecoins, stating that fiat-pegged tokens could have limited adoption cases and dismissing any overall threat to... Who cares what this guy has to say? What is this Bank of International Settlements anyway? Have you heard of it? I have found that very few people I've talked to over the years have ever even heard of the Bank of International Settlements. Well, you're going to hear about it today. What is the Bank of International Settlements? This is their website, BIS.org. Welcome to the Bank for International Settlements, you're greeted with, prompting global monetary and financial stability through international cooperation. About the BIS. Here you go. The BIS mission is to serve central banks in their pursuit of monetary and financial stability, to foster international cooperation in those areas, and to act as a bank for central banks. It is the central bank to the central banks. It is the head of the international banking, global banking cabal. Established in 1930, the Bank of International Settlements is owned by 63 central banks, representing countries from around the world that together account for 95% of world GDP. Its head office is in Basel, Switzerland, and it has 2 representative offices in Hong Kong, SAR, and Mexico City. Did you know, if you dig into this deeper, that the property upon which the Bank of International Settlements sits is not subject to any other governmental entity or regulatory law, any law. They can do anything they want. I mean, it's even likely that if you were there and they decided they didn't care for you and wanted to kill you, there's no jurisdiction. They're outside of the realm of any other jurisdiction, right? It's an incredible thing. So it's kind of like the Vatican City in that way. We pursue our mission by, they say, fostering discussion and facilitating collaboration among central banks. So see this? This is the thing. People talk about a one world government. We have that. We have a one world monetary government, banking, financial, at least financially speaking, system. They get together. These 63 central banks get together every year. The heads, the chairmen, even Prowl of the Federal Reserve, they all get together. And they discuss and they collude. They collaborate. Okay, we're going to use the word they use, the better word. This cabal. They collaborate, fostering discussion and facilitating collaboration amongst central banks, supporting dialogue with other authorities that are responsible for promoting financial stability, carrying out research and policy analysis on issues of relevance for monetary and financial stability, acting as prime counterparty for central banks in their financial transactions. So the Bank of International Settlements is a counterparty for central banks. You get that? Like a lender of last resort, like to provide stability for those central banks because they've got to keep the system intact. You understand? Serving as an agent or trustee in connection with international financial operations. As part of our work in the area of monetary and financial stability, we regularly publish related analysis and international banking and financial statistics that underpin policymaking, academic research, etc., blah, 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 blah. Governance and organization. Look at this. The governance of the bank is exercised at 3 levels: the board of directors, the general meeting of member central banks, and BIS management. Who are the members? BIS member central banks: Bank of Algeria, Bank of Argentina, Reserve Bank of Australia, Austria, Belgium. The list goes on. 63 different central banks. All right, board of directors. Look at the board of directors. Who do we see on the board of directors? Jerome Powell, Washington, and all the other heads of all the other central banks. Financial information. Most of the assets held by the Bank of International Settlements consist of government and quasi-government securities plus investments with commercial banks of international standing, including reverse repurchase agreements. Total assets as of March 31st, 2020 comprise 34% government and other securities, including treasury bills. 17% cash and cash equivalent balances, mainly at central banks. 18% reverse purchase agreements, primarily with sovereign bonds as collateral. 21% loans, advances on other assets, and 10% gold and gold loans. The Bank of International Settlements is one of the largest holders of gold in the world. All right, that's enough to get started. Maybe we'll talk more about it in the future. You can look into that. Research the Bank of International Settlements if you like. But of course, this guy, Augustin Carstens, he's going to say the same thing he's been saying over and over again. We don't care. All right, friends, that's enough. I think I went pretty long today. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you all. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Remember, it's always a great day to earn and to stack more crypto. Hope you have a phenomenal day. See you soon. Bye.